Alright, so welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to work on the belt sander. I was trying to do a little research on this, and I think what I found out is that this particular style was made by whatever company and rebadged in a million different forms. It was a craftsman, it was one of the shopsmiths, it was probably 5 or 6 other companies out there had models that were either identical or very, very similar to this. And what was interesting about it, doing my research, is that I noticed that they had an alternative mechanism, or an alternative style for the belt. Shit on the workbench. And this belt right now has this sort of triangular shape, and they had another style, you know, this where you just run it straight up and down, and I'm not sure what the benefit of having it either run down or up, I just don't know what the difference is, but anyway, I thought that was pretty novel, and I don't know, eventually I'll find out whether this has some advantages. I imagine give you a little bit more play here, but anyway, it's always neat to find out something new about your tool, or, well, you know what I mean. And it also told me that I'm missing a piece. There was apparently an idler or something here. I imagine there would be some galloping, or I think the technical term might be hysteriosis, where this would start to develop a harmonic and go up and down. Let's give that a test real quick. It's tracking slightly different. It's tracking further on this side, but it doesn't seem to be. Huh. Very interesting. But anyway, so the issue at hand here is that this has got an open frame motor. I think that the correct motor that should be on here would be a TEFC motor, a totally enclosed fan cooled motor. This is not totally enclosed. There's big gaping holes in the front of this, or gaping holes in the back of this. It is largely sealed. Except for what looks like parts of the bottom, the very, very bottom of this. So anyway, I want to preserve this motor. I don't want to kill it with this, because I'm sure I could find some other cleaner application for it. And I'm going to put on a new motor, and then I'm also going to flip this. Look, if you notice right now, the footprint of this machine is wider than it has to be. If I were to take this motor and flip it around, I would discount the width of the machine here in the total footprint. It's hard to articulate, but I think at the end of the day you're going to see that this wood is going to stay the same width, but the overall, I don't know. I think it's going to work better when I slide, because I keep this in the back of my workbench, and right now it takes up a hell of a lot of space. I think if I flip the motor around the other way, it's going to possibly save me a little bit of room. So anyway, I'm going to proceed with disassembling this, and then bring you back, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do with the wood. Now this particular machine, for those of you that have watched the channel for a while, you've heard me talk about it in one of the other videos. This was owned by my grandfather, and he had sold it to a good buddy of mine. I think he had 2 belt sanders, and my buddy is into knife making, and yeah, he's a very talented guy, does a lot of different things. But Anyway, he was getting into knife making at the time, and he said, I'd really like to have one of these machines. And he worked a deal with my grandfather and bought the 2 belt sanders. I don't recall what the other one was. And then a Gravely L8 tractor, and I think another generator of sorts. I forget exactly what kind of generator it was. But anyway, this was my grandfather, so it's somewhat sentimental to me, but he also sold the damn thing, so it wasn't that sentimental to him. So I don't have, the more I think about it, the more it's not critical to me to keep this as it were. I would rather, it's starting to rust in places, and you know, it's a great tool. I want to try to keep it working for as long as possible, so a little routine maintenance isn't going to hurt it. Alright, so here's the new motor. It's only a 1/4 horsepower, and it's also an open frame motor, but see, this is just a jelly bean part. It's like a fan motor. It's the right RPM. It's a 1725, and it's a scratch and dent. So I was able to pick this thing up for about 40 bucks, which is a good deal, and it doesn't have any sort of value to me like the other one does, because a quality old motor with the serviceable bearings and stuff like that, you know, there's certain pieces of machinery that I have that I might want to have a period correct motor on, and for this, because I'm actively going to be using it, I'm not worried about period correctness. So anyway, this is ideally how I think I'm going to see this machine run, and and now on the wiring diagram, if you see there on the bottom, counterclockwise rotation as shown, to reverse rotation interchange the black and red wires. So all I have to do now is my line in, line out, I can interchange, I can flip the 2 wires and get this to spin the right direction. And right now I'm not sure if clockwise or counterclockwise is correct. It really doesn't matter. I just know that later on I can come back and change it. So I think at this point I'm going to work on the wood, and then that'll give me some time to stain it or do whatever I'm going to do with it, and then let that dry while I work on this later on. So this is probably going to be time lapse. going to go ahead and use that gun stock on this and take this outside, put it on the little step stool that I have, and stain it up, and then I'm going to come back and we'll get on the sander. Alright, so that's the belt sander broken down. Now, I think I'm going to turn this into a couple part video just because I've got other things going on. So, I'm going to conclude this one here. The next video is going to have a bunch of time lapse of me sandblasting and then treating the surface with something. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I always say I'm going to paint and I never do. But anyway, I'm going to leave you in suspense and finish waiting for the wood to dry, get ready to start sandblasting this stuff, and bring you back in a day or two when I've made some more progress. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.